As you could have guessed, the Concorde uses a lot of runway during takeoff. Each of Concorde's 4 engines produces 32,000 pounds of thrust, 38,000 pounds of thrust each with afterburner. Maximum takeoff weight is 408,000 pounds. This takeoff, the aircraft is just under that at 407,000 pounds. The aircraft is very stable on the ground. Directional control is very easy to maintain, even on the takeoff run. Rotation speed's around 170, and the aircraft comes off the ground at around 200 knots, and that will vary depending on weight. Climb out should be conducted at 250 knots indicated airspeed up to 5,000 feet. After that, the speed varies, and there is a climb schedule included in the manual that comes with the aircraft. It's easy to tell we're going Mach 2 as fast as the ground is moving from 60,000 feet. As we look around the cabin and towards the back of the airplane, we'll work our way up to the flight deck. And moving forward, there is a lavatory in this airplane. The door does open and close. I didn't try it, but I also did read the exit doors do open and close when connected to a jetway. And there's the galley as we move forward and exits, and then the flight deck to our left. And here's the view the flight engineer would have had during the flight. And one of the main jobs of the flight engineer was to keep the center of gravity within limits by balancing the fuel. Fuel can be moved manually to keep the center of gravity within range. You can also use this switch here, which is the trim tank's auto master switch, and fuel can be moved forward and aft to control the center of gravity with that switch. The majority of the buttons and switches on the engineer's panel do work. There are basic schematics of the fuel system in the flight manual, and also information on a lot of the buttons and switches on the engineer's panel as well. Here's the Concorde in the dark, and here's what it looks like with interior lighting turned on. The instrument panel does light up nicely, making everything very easy to read. The circuit breakers behind and in front of the jump seat do not work. And there's a manual, and there are a few more books scattered around this aircraft, such as this one, Altitude by Dean Crawford, and this one up in the front called Event Horizon, also by Dean Crawford. That's also the developer of this aircraft, who is an author in his previous career, and all of those books are real and available for sale online. And for the record, he did not ask me to say that. The aft center pedestal contains the transponder and navigation and communication radios. Reheat, or afterburner switches as they're also called, can be activated individually, or they can all be activated simultaneously with a key binding. On the right side of the center pedestal is an air temperature gauge. 127 degrees Celsius is not to be exceeded, which is being done, but can be fixed by slowing down. The flight management computers do work. Routes can be entered, routes can be modified. You can also input VOR and localizer frequencies as well. The number keys on the flight management computer are alphanumeric. To get the letter K, continuously press the number 5 until K is displayed. And letters will be added to each number key. While the engine gauges are easy to read, the bottom row of gauges that you're seeing right now are faint. That has been fixed. Some things may change from the actual release because this is still a work in progress. And a look at the top of the panel is the AFCS, or Automatic Flight Control System. Here's a quick look at the captain's side instruments and the co-pilot's side instruments. Enjoy a few videos of the exterior, and I'll talk to you again at the landing. This image is from the actual Concorde manual, and this is where ref speeds can be found based on weight. Landing the Concorde in Microsoft Flight Simulator was a little bit more challenging than the typical airliner, which just adds to the fun. The typical pitch attitude on approach and landing is approximately 12 degrees. On this landing, I was not very aggressive on bringing the airplane to a stop. I did not use thrust reversers, and I also held the nose off and brought the nose down gently and then added more brakes. Multiple other landings were done with full reverse, full brakes. I was able to bring the airplane to a stop in approximately 5,000 feet at moderate weights. Being at ref speed crossing the threshold is very important. If you come in slightly fast, this airplane will eat up a lot of runway since it's at such a high speed on approach and landing. It wasn't shown previously, but the nose and visor do move up and down. Here the visor is moving down, and this is at 2 times the normal speed. And the visor would be fully retracted at 270 knots. Here it is moving up, also at double the speed. There is a lot more information to cover, but this is a preview of the aircraft that is soon to be released. Part of the fun is exploring and learning by experimenting or reading the manual. In closing, the Concorde is not study level, nor is it meant to be study level. The intent of the developer is for the aircraft to be enjoyed by everyone with some level of difficulty added if the user decides to do so, such as the fuel system. My take on the aircraft is that it does what DC Designs says it will do. Mach 2 at 60,000 feet if flown correctly. It's a challenge to fly, but maintains a level of fun at the same time, while outrunning practically everything else in the sky. And having the ability to fly at 60,000 feet at Mach 2 with Super Cruise and viewing the curvature of the Earth as the Atlantic Ocean is crossed is pretty spectacular. This thing is a blast to fly. I can only imagine what it would have been like to have flown the real thing. But it's neat to think that supersonic transports of the future were inspired by this airplane. Keep in mind, much of this airplane is still a work in progress. As good as this sound is, believe it or not, this is not the actual sound of the Concorde. The actual custom sound is being worked on and will be implemented prior to release. As always, thank you for watching, and if you like, please press that subscribe button.